Hello, friends. Thank you so much for joining me for my very first YouTube Live. This is really exciting. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while. I've been really wanting to start to create more educational content. My brain naturally is inclined towards going to the podcasting route, which I love and absolutely has its place. But when it comes to actually teaching something, I think video just is a little more engaging and it's a little easier to share, I'd say, a wider breadth of knowledge. And so that's what I'm going to be doing here. Every month, or as it's already panning out, every 2 weeks or so, we are going to be doing a live workshop, an entrepreneurial workshop. And so if you want to keep up on all the latest and greatest in terms of strategies, but also things like legal, accounting, all the like unsexy side, but also then marketing strategies and tips for building the best online business, this is going to be something that I curate and do either as solo shows, or I bring in a single expert, or we do more of like a roundtable experience. And this is something that I am going to be doing as long as I feel like it's bringing value to you. So if you want to join in and come along for the ride, you can go to laurengagioli.com/workshop. And there you can sign up, and you'll be able to see all the replays there of past workshops. This is the first one. You'll be able to see all the replays there of past workshops, as well as ones that are coming in the future. I'll list out sort of the schedule. And if you join and email me back on that first email and tell me what it is you want to learn about in this arena, then we can do that. As you can tell, Fridays are gardening day. And so we have a lawnmower going right outside my window. And yeah, basically this is not ideal for this situation, but I never know what time they're coming. And so it's hard to plan around. So I know they come on Fridays. So in the future, we will probably not be doing Fridays. All that said, I want to share a little bit today about who I am and why I am so in love with SEO. And that's a weird thing to be in love with. I know it's a strange thing to be passionate about, but I really am. And after that, we're going to get to some practical, tactical around how to create SEO copy that converts. And what I mean by that is copy on your website that speaks both to Google's bots and to the humans behind the keyword research that you're doing. Those queries are just absolutely critical for you as an entrepreneur. You can get underneath them and understand so much about your avatar. And so that's something that we are going to be exploring today. And then how to go about executing on that copy, and how do you kind of hold the two threads of speaking to Google's bots while also appealing to a real human who, depending on what you do, at least has a need and sometimes has a lot of pain or discomfort associated with what it is they're dealing with, and then your solution that you provide alleviates that. So how do we like hold all of that in our head and then also write words on a page that actually pull people into their next right step and allows them to get to know you a little bit. So before we get started, just a little bit about who I am. I'm Lauren Gagioli. I am an SEO consultant and an organic marketing strategist. I love SEO, as I mentioned at the top. And I really love it for entrepreneurs. I see a lot of people look at social as the main vehicle to reach audiences. And I think there's a lot of good that can come out of that. However, I also think that there are a lot of missed opportunities when you don't leverage Google. And so I want to make sure that online entrepreneurs are not missing that opportunity. And a lot of solopreneurs I know feel like it's going to be way over their head. They're not going to be able to tackle it. My big why is to help others actualize their unrealized potential. And the way I do that in the entrepreneurship space, specifically with SEO, is I show you the keywords that people are looking for that are related to what it is you offer. I help you find those, and then I show you how to lay the groundwork and create the path to bring strangers on the internet through your digital doors and welcome them in and convert them to happy clients. Because I think when we talk about strategy, it can feel a little like disconnected. It just starts to become about these metrics and you can lose the heart behind it. And so I like to bring those two together and show people the opportunity that lies behind it. So if you are struggling, feeling like you're screaming into a void every time you post on the internet, that nobody's connecting and resonating with the message that you're sharing, it's not that your message isn't the correct one or one that even would serve folks. It's that it's not finding the right people at the right time. SEO can change that for you. And if you are doing spaghetti at the walls marketing and you're just like chucking stuff out there and hoping it lands, it's not the best way to go about having a profitable business. So if you're seeing that reflected in your bottom line, that there's a lot of like, I don't know, going on, this can be really helpful to getting grounded and going, no, I know people are searching for this stuff, and this is how I'm going to meet them. And now I have an opt in that is really aligned with what those folks are looking for and will help them take the next right step. I will happen to be the person who is facilitating that journey because I'm making it so clear and so convenient. And I'm being found at the time that somebody has a problem. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And also, there's this other little concept that I sort of mentioned quite a bit, and it's your organic freedom tipping point. And so, if you are someone who is looking for time freedom, you're looking for lifestyle freedom, you really want more say over how much you make, when you make it. If you want all of that and you don't want to be having to manage 153 things to get you there, this is one way to sort of distill and narrow your focus so you can get to what I call that organic freedom tipping point, which is the point at which Google is sending you so much traffic every month, and it's a specific number that you can calculate. Google is sending you that number of traffic, and based on average conversions, you are able to make the monthly revenue you are looking to make. So I want to address all of that. I also love that this is a live. Obviously, if you're watching a replay, great. You can always type in the comments. I keep an eye on them. And if I have resources or, answers to your questions, I'm always linking those up for you. But if you're here live and you have questions as I'm speaking, please feel free to type them in. I would love to know what your business is. Please put your domain down there. I want to see who you are and what it is you do. So be sure to say hi, and let's go ahead and dive in. So when it comes to creating SEO copy that converts, what we really need to be doing in that copy for it to land and convert the human on the other side, because all the traffic in the world without the conversion piece does not matter, right? You're not actually facilitating transformation for folks in the best way that you can. And so what we really want to focus on is creating transformation for others. The byproduct, the natural byproduct of being super helpful on the internet is that you will make more money. And if you do it well, you will make more money. So it is kind of this virtuous cycle, right? The more you help, the more there is in it for you. But you have to start with really being other focused. So as we talk about all of this, I want you to keep that front and center in your mind, that this is not a strategy to work in lieu of being a good entrepreneur, of being a good helper, right? This is not something that will ever circumvent or overcome you not doing what would serve somebody in a brick and mortar business, as well as on the internet. Just every business is B2C. And so you really have to be thinking about that. Even if you're B2B, it's people on the other side. And so we have to keep that first and foremost in our mind and be writing for that person. So often I see copy that lands awkwardly because you can see the what's in it for the entrepreneur rather than what's in it for the person who just arrived through Google to your site and doesn't know you from Adam. And so, if that's the case, then you really need to make sure that, as you would welcoming someone into your home, you create a warm space, you invite them in, you really are, leveraging all those permission marketing strategies that we know and know work because they are other focused. But in SEO, when we're coming at it through the lens of how do I get more organic traffic, well, we do need to hold that human side in one hand. The other thing we have to do is hold the bots in the other. And this is where I think SEO gets overly technical and scares people off because it feels like you have to choose one or the other. And that is actually not true. What you really need to do is choose both. You need to reach out with both hands and be weaving these two threads together at the same time. So, what does it mean to appeal to Google's bots? Well, there are a lot of things that you can do to appeal to them. The first thing is really knowing where you start. So if you are unsure of how your website is doing, and through the lens of how Google looks at it, I do have a free website audit. It's a mini series. It's like a three video course that you can get on my website if you go to laurengagioli.com/audit, AUDIT. And when you go there, it'll show you some of the things that are really important to Google. I walk you through some of those considerations. But when it comes to kind of overarching that your site loads relatively quickly, that it's not jumping around as it's loading into the frame. And you can use page speed insights to find out whether or not that's happening. You might need to do a little revamp on the underbelly of your site. And if that's the case, definitely let me know. I have resources that can help you. But not only does your site need to be structurally sound, need to be mobile friendly, load quickly, all of those good things, you also really need to have a strong hierarchy on your site that it's clearly laid out so Google can see through URL structures, through the way things are structured in your menu, how things fit together. It's a robot. It's going to crawl through and kind of go, how does this work? Like, I don't understand if it doesn't make sense from a organizational hierarchical perspective. The other thing you need to think about is how the pages on your site interrelate. So a quality interlinking strategy is something else that will be helpful, kind of in a macro sense, like looking at your whole website. But then there's more the micro, right? There's looking at the individual pieces of content, making sure that your posts are structured appropriately. Does it have a clear title with a keyword in it? Is your URL structure clean and clear to a searcher? Not necessarily to your internal speak, but to somebody who's searching from outside. You want to make sure that your headers are leveraged appropriately. I remember on my very first website, HigherScoresTestPrep.com, I thought that the headers were about the font that had been programmed. This just goes to show you that site that I messed up at the beginning was actually getting like 16,000 hits of organic traffic a month. So you can do it, some things wrong and still succeed. So I don't want to scare anybody off by saying like, these are all the things you need to do technically. But ideally, your header structures are hierarchically organized as well. Oh boy, the sun is coming out. So apparently that was a very salient point. God has smiled on it. So yes, make sure your headers make sense. Leverage your H2s, your H3s, your H4s to organize things. If you have a table of contents capability, functionality in your site, whether it's through a plugin or something, leverage it. Make sure that if you're just looking at the headers, you understand the organization of the piece that you wrote, that it's clear. If I just scan it, this sort of breaks up the wall of text situation, which is good for the user experience as well, speaks to the human, but that if I just scan it, I can see, okay, and then there's this breadcrumb and this breadcrumb, and I can follow the trail all the way to whatever the juicy morsel is at the end, which we'll get to in a minute. And then you want to make sure you have other media to keep people on there. I see a lot of podcasters miss an opportunity to SEO optimize their podcasts by not providing a transcript, by not adding some sort of giveaway or an opt-in that makes sense for the particular topic at hand, that sort of thing. So if you embed a video, don't think that the video stands on its own. Make sure you have copy surrounding it. Same thing with a podcast. Make sure you have images that are correctly titled, all of those things to reflect the keywords you're trying to target. Those are the things that speak to Google's bots. They also can inform a quality user experience because it can lay things out more logically. And I think it's really important. I think it's Denise Duffield Thomas says that a confused mind doesn't buy. Confusion creates friction. And as we get a little further on today, we're going to start talking about how to structure sales pages as opposed to structuring your informational content. And holding those two separate is really important. But either way, there is a transaction, air quotes there, uh, going on, even if all you're asking for is an email address, right? That is a piece of currency in today's day and age, and it's hugely valuable to your business, but arguably more valuable to the person who is signing up and praying they're not going to get bombarded by you. So I would encourage you, if you are asking for anything from somebody who's coming to your website, which you should, you want to make sure that you are smoothing the path as much as possible and projecting what can be expected. Being really clear in the digital age is absolutely important because the more clear you are, the more you stand out from your competition. Truly. A lot of times I look at websites and I go, I don't even know what you do. And if I can't tell, as somebody who has been brought in and has already had a conversation with you, if I can't tell from the copy on the page what my next right step is, you have a real problem, whether you're being found in Google or not. And that's the human side, right? That's appealing to the person behind the queries. And so I want you to make sure you're keeping that top of mind and always thinking through the lens of somebody who does not know me shows up here, because that's the ideal situation. If you want to get to that organic freedom tipping point, the ideal is you are going to get people through your door who you've never talked to. And how you know you've really made it is when somebody comes through your door and then hands you money and you don't know who the heck they are. You don't have to have any conversation. It's just they came in, they loved what you put out there, they found you, they're in, and they want what you have to offer. And they say, yes, I'm willing to say yes without ever having that one-to-one conversation with you. Right. And so the more we can smooth that path, the more we can really facilitate that in always a genuine, honest way. That is where copy really starts to sing and also where it impacts your bottom line. And so you want to help others. You know, if somebody is on the internet searching something in their query bar on Google, they are saying, I have a problem I need help with. And that problem might be, I don't have information, or that problem might be, I need to buy something to solve whatever the problem is, right? So, an example that I often use is what is organic marketing versus organic marketing course. One of those people has a credit card in hand, and the other one just needs information. And so I need to be thinking about that through those two different lenses. So when you do keyword research, there's transactional queries, which are, you know, straight to I guess, do pass go, do collect $200. It's straight to the starting line of something that you offer as a solution that's a paid service or product. And then there's informational, like, I don't know what this thing is, please help me. And that is different. And you have to treat it differently. Pivoting someone from an informational query to a purchase, that requires time. It requires nurturing. That's where the term nurture sequence comes from. You are meeting people, welcoming them in a warm and fuzzy kind of way. So, understanding those two keywords, really important. And if you are looking at your keyword research, and of course, this presupposes you've done some keyword research, because if you're going to be found by Google, if the whole point is SEO copy, you've got to have the data to build off of. But how you meet those queries necessarily has to be different, and what you offer each person has to be different. And so we are going to talk today about not crossing the streams. So for my Ghostbusters fans out there, you don't, like I said, want to make a pivot to a purchase and a hard sell at the end of an informational query post. So if you feel like I'm getting traffic, but it's not converting, you're probably making the wrong offer. And so you want to make sure that you are really crystal clear about who you're meeting with each query and the kind of content you're developing for them. So, as I said, this assumes that some keyword research has been done. I will likely do a workshop in the future about how to do keyword research, because it's a really important thing. Even if you don't want to do the rest of SEO, which I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you don't want to do the rest of SEO, all the strategies and everything, that's fine. But keyword research can help you name your avatar really clearly. It can help you see what people are actually searching for on the internet, because for any SEO play to work, you have to meet people where they are and meet them with the known. And so some people want to say, like, I'm not an interior decorator. And then they list some sort of really niche thing that's a term they made up that nobody's searching for. Like, if you want to get an interior decorating client, you have to meet them with the term interior decorator near me, right? Like, you have to go to them and say, hey, this is what I do. How you do it is your secret sauce. How you do it is the special side of it. But you have to meet them with how you're the same first. And that's where keyword research can be really helpful. It kind of gets us out of our own way and gets us out of the insider speak. So with my SEO course, one of the first exercises we do is plain speak. What do you do? Like, give me the most basic thing that you do and give it to me in language that other people use who are not in your industry. Unless, of course, you're B2B, and then you can use the insider speak to like narrow down and be more refined. But if you're trying to reach a wider audience, then you have to be really clear about the language you're using, because that actually amps up the know, like, and trust factor. When what you are saying on the post that you wrote is reflective of the language the person on the other side of the screen is using, it helps them lean in. It helps them go, oh, this person really sees me. They really understand the challenges that I have. And they are speaking the same language, literally. And so I would encourage you to, again, even if you're not going to go further with the SEO research, at least do keyword research. Ahrefs has a keyword generator. So Ahrefs is the SEO tool I use. And if you search keyword generator, Ahrefs, then you will find it, because it's keyword optimized. And so you can go in there, you can type in any query. It'll tell you how hard it is to rank for it. That's your keyword difficulty and the search volume. And you can just play around in there, get a sense of the data. Now, as I said, before you get to writing, you really need to understand who you're meeting and what they need. And so again, we want to make sure that we focus on transactional queries, which would go to a sales page differently than we do an informational. And so for the purposes of this, I would love for you to go and take a look at my Big Y Life program. I'm going to walk you through this, but if you go to bigylife.com, you will be able to see a sales page I have crafted for my course about purpose. And we're going to kind of talk through the structure of it. I'm going to do it from memory, so hopefully I don't miss anything. I have some notes, but that's a really good way for you to get a sense of how I meet a transactional query. If someone is looking for a course about naming your purpose or a course about finding your purpose, they are going to land on this page, ideally, right? That's the whole concept behind how I structured it. From an SEO side, I will tell you that's not a big search term. So I have much more of an informational play here. into a nurture sequence, into supporting folks, because this is the kind of solution that not everybody knows they need. But once they see it and see what it can do for them, then they often go, oh, right, that's something that might benefit me. And so that's something to keep in mind. Not everything is going to be, something people are searching for. It's not like Disney bounding costumes, right? There are a lot of people looking for that Disney t-shirts, right? These are queries. People are going to Disney World. They want to be matchy-matchy with their families. Totally get that. But some of us don't have businesses that are structured that way. But I will give you another page that I wrote about online test prep that is highly searched and is transactional as a secondary example if you want to see another one. But right now, if you're at bigwhylife.com and you are crafting a sales page, what you really want to do with a sales page is first remind people that you see them as the human they are, right? If someone searches course about naming your purpose, they feel lost. If someone searches for how to name your purpose, find your purpose, and they happen to stumble across this page for some reason, as opposed to one of the informational ones, I want them to know I see them. And this course is very broad. It can speak to a lot of different folks. I've done some specialization inside the program where I give like different tracks for different folks. So a high school student gets different resources than a career questioning adult or an entrepreneur who's looking to refine their copy. But you can see in that first little section where I'm asking questions, it's stoking curiosity. And if somebody says yes, it's pre-validating them. It's pre-verifying that this is something that fits for them, right? If you said yes, then by all means, learn more. I want you to understand how I'm going to help you achieve those aims. So the answers aren't like, do you want a course that I made? Cool, right? That's secondary, right? I want to go to the broader question of where's your heart right now, right? Do you need some support? Do you want clarity? Do you want to understand how you can live a life that feels more fulfilling? And by meeting that person there, I'm able to create a connection. They feel seen, or someone goes, that sounds horrible. I don't want that. X out. Great. Bless and release. So, what I love to do in sort of the above the fold area, kind of before you get into the meat and potatoes of your program, how it came about, what it is you offer, I like to do a little summary and be really clear about what the solution is that I'm offering to meet that person. So I love to do a video because people will play a video and keep scrolling, but they're listening. And I also like to say, like, this is an 8-module course that you can complete in your own time over 8 to 16 weeks as you see fit. And it is asynchronous. It comes alongside you and will support you as you do the work to get to the results, the benefits that you have said you actually want. So you've already gotten buy-in. They're watching you. They're getting to know you. And then you give just a high level summary of like, what is this? And then you can get more into the story. You can say more about why you, like, why did you create this solution? What is it about what you offer that is different than everybody else? Again, if you have keyword research you can pull from, leveraging some of the keywords that actually start with how you're the same and then show the differentiation. And so one thing that's really important on the Big Why Life page is that I came to this work because I was feeling fragmented and fractured after I became a mother. So I was context shifting with my identities and it was causing a lot of stress for me. And I felt like I didn't know who I was anymore because I was jumping through other people's context-based hoops based on who I was to them. So in one domain, I was a wife. In the other, I was a mother. In the other, I was an entrepreneur helping my clients. But even then, I was fragmented more because when I talked to students versus talking to parents, it was a different ethos, right, that I was showing up with. And I was exhausted. And I realized that my students were having a similar issue, and it was getting in the way of messaging of like how I was saying who I was. And that allowed me to create what I shared today, that overarching statement. I help others actualize their unrealized potential. It's about shining a light on what's you're not bringing out into the world and helping you come up with a plan to bring it out into the world. That is what I do. I homeschool my kids. I do it with them. I do it in my friendships. Now, it doesn't mean I'm always being purpose driven. Like that would be exhausting to just be the person who always knows everything. That's not what I'm saying I am. I also just like go out and have a good time with my friends, but and sometimes I'm just the mom watching TV with my kids. Like that is also a part of my identity. But I can look at my day and know if I spent any time in my purpose. And it becomes this really clarifying thing for me that if I'm presented with an opportunity, I can back up and say, is this something that is in the scope of my purpose, outside the scope of my purpose? And do I have time based on what I need for balance and rest and restoration to add something to either of those pools? And so I share that to explain why this matters, like what's on the other side for somebody. And I use myself as the example. And then I also, as I get down, I talk about how I came to this work, why I do it, who it's for. As you'll see there, I clearly state 4 different groups of people that it serves, and I clarify how it serves each of them. And then further down, I talk about all the brass tacks. Like I clear every possible objection here. I say how each module is structured. I lay it out clearly. I also talk about the price. Please, oh my gosh, list your price on your sales page. Nothing is more annoying than not seeing the price, or at least a price range, right? At least say starting at, if you do something that's more bespoke. Totally fine, but tell me where it's starting, because if you don't, I'm walking. I am not going through that door because it feels slimy and weird. Because it's if this is a transaction, I want to know what I'm going to be on the hook for before I even dip my toe in the water. Also talking about return policy. People want to know what they're going to be, if they're going to be able to get out of it. Like if I don't like this, especially for online purchases, this is really important. If you don't have your return policy clearly stated, you're going to have a hard time making as many sales as you possibly could. People will walk away if they feel like they're going to be locked in without it being clear what the next steps would be. And interspersed with buy buttons. You'll notice on this page that I have buy buttons at the top, in the middle, at appropriate intervals, because everybody decides that the burden of proof has been served, right? Like you've proven that this is something I want. Now I would like to click buy. You want to give them that opportunity all the way through, because if you don't, then if they decide in the middle and then like they have to scroll for forever to find how to pay you, then that's a problem. So you want to have those buy buttons all the way through. And then also make sure you include client success stories, testimonials, whether it's written reviews, video, however you do it in your business. And if you don't, you should. You want to make sure that that's all present and accounted for on the page. Again, that really goes to helping increase conversion on a transactional page. So make sure that you also spell out the next right step. Like, do not throw a wall up if you've made this lovely case for why this might be the right fit for somebody in a, again, just a completely authentic, in your own voice kind of way. When you do that, ask for the sale. Your next right step, if this sounds like something that's the right fit for you, is to click buy and let's get started today. And you can even spell out, once you sign up, you will get an email. You'll be able to log in immediately and you can begin this journey to an amazing future and to clarity and fulfillment right now. And so that's a really great way to sort of like go through and go, okay, did I check all these boxes? You can sort of benchmark what I have with what you offer and say, what am I missing? How can I add to this? How can I plus it up? So that is one example of a transactional email or a transactional page. Another one would be to go to higherscorestestprep.com, click on either SAT prep or ACT prep. They're kind of mirrors of one another with some key differences, obviously, because they're different tests. But if you go there, you can see how I've done it there. I will say I've done a much better job on that page of not having the wall of text syndrome. That is, whenever you write copy, you'll always go back and go, oh, I could have done that differently. Oh, I could have done that better. Oh, and that's an opportunity, if it's still something you own, to, plus it up and add in a little bit more. That's something I'm going to be doing at Big Y Life. But, I read a quote once that the biggest error that folks make in programming is over optimizing a first version. And I want to avoid that at all costs. I have a tendency to lean into my perfectionism. So I'll always see the cracks, but if it's good enough and I've hit all the big marks, then I push publish and say I'll come back to it later and refine if I need to. So that might be something I do in the future, but right now it's live and open for business. And to me, that is worth it. It's hit the majority of the marks. And even though I can see the cracks, if you're a perfectionist too, you'll always see the cracks, but getting it out there is the most important thing. As long as it has sort of a baseline structure around it that serves the audience that might land there. So I hope you find that helpful. Now, remember, that's for folks who enter in a transactional query. Someone enters in online ACT course, they could end up on that higher scores page. A course about naming your purpose, they could end up on that Big Y page. Those are targeted to the transaction. What else is the water here? On the other side, there are the informational pieces, right? So this is where you are meeting someone who has a query about something you do, and you are meeting them with information. So I want to show you an example of that that points to Big Y Life sort of secondarily, but it's not the main call to action on the page. So if you go to laurengaglioli.com/writing, and I will put all this in the chat or actually in the description for this. So if you're watching a replay, you will be able to go straight to this. But on that writing page, if you scroll down and look for 3 reasons figuring out what you want in life, figuring out what you want in life is so hard. So 3 reasons why figuring out what you want in life is so hard. So that's going to be an example of an informational piece that is keyword researched, by the way. I forget the exact term. I want to say it's why figuring out what you want is so hard. And then there's like another one that's figuring out what you want in life. So I took those and I sort of married them and put them into this post so that people can find it for a couple of different related terms. And this is where doing the keyword research, when you find things that are sort of adjacent, Google's really smart. If you link those similar terms, you don't want to bring things that are totally disparate, but if you link similar terms, you can actually plus up the posts that you're writing to meet a myriad of keyword queries. And even if they're not right on the nose, if they're close enough, then it can actually help you reach a wider audience. And sometimes you don't even know you're doing it. Sometimes it's just the way your language naturally flows, and that's great too. Any way you can get it. I have a post right now about 9 books about naming your purpose. It's an affiliate play. The 9 books are linked up to bookshop.org, and I am making affiliate revenue from that if anybody buys through my links. But I targeted like 3 or 4 different queries, and I knew I was in the ballpark of like getting 800 volume. That was the potential for that post. Now I'm watching it climb in Ahrefs it's something now like 3,200 in volume. And so I can see that there's all these terms that I didn't find and didn't know about, but they're close enough that Google's like, oh yeah, this is about that. And so the keyword research part, again, is really important. But as you're writing an informational query post, you want to, again, make sure you meet people with empathy. Now, this one happens to start in a similar way to Big Y Life, where I asked questions, but it doesn't always have to be that way. So I have a client who she is a pediatric occupational therapist, and she has a course about feeding. And one of the things that we tried to weave in is understanding that it's probably a mother making the search term. I know that's a generalization. I'm not saying dads aren't interested in helping their kids, but odds are if someone's searching mealtime struggles, it's a mom who has cooked 53 meals in the last week and this child has eaten none, right? She is frustrated, she's tired, she's really probably benchmarking what she is her expectations of mealtime and what it looks like against her social feed, right? Which is like beautiful and lovely and everybody's just so calm and peaceful. And her child's like, nope, not going to eat. She's worried about malnutrition, right? She's worried about all these things. And so understanding that that's the mindset that a person is coming in with can help you meet them with really empathetic language and really empathetic guidance. And when you again use that keyword in there, it's mirroring the query that they typed into Google. And when you do that, it gives you the opportunity to really support them and say, I see you. And so while I started this query or this post with questions again, it's a good tactic. Um, you can sometimes just say, if you're frustrated, I totally get it. And I've been there too. I've helped so many families go through this. Let me tell you a little bit about what I've seen from some families who have gone from the place that you are standing right now to far more peace and a more connective mealtime experience. Let me support you. I'll tell you some of the things that have worked for those other families, and then you can choose, what works from that slate of offerings that I'm able to show you that is informed by my experience. By the way, I happen to be an occupational therapist. I do all this stuff. Then you can naturally be like, let me just introduce myself. Before I tell you, after I tell you what's in it for you, let me tell you who I am so you know that like it makes sense for you to trust me because this is my experience. Again, now that stranger on the internet feels like they were brought in a way that saw them and then honored the fact that they're in struggle and then said like, but I understand it's important in the internet day and age that you trust who's on the other side of the information. So let me just give you a little information about me. So that's what you want to do with your informational pieces as well. Um, you don't necessarily have to put who you are as front and center because the transaction here, in theory, is for them to give you an email address, right? So you're going to have some sort of opt in to stay in touch. The biggest focus, though, is helping them make a leap, right? Helping them take a step. And so you want to make sure that you teach with those clear SEO optimized headers. Here is where the headers really make the most sense because a table of contents is hugely helpful in informational pieces because it gives people visibility as to what's coming. So if you say, this is what I do, this is how I help, right? And here's how I'm going to guide you through. So if you look at that post that I just mentioned, the 3 reasons figuring out what you want is so hard. I empathize with that. And then I say, but here are 3 exercises you can do to kind of grease the wheels and start moving in a particular direction to make sure the needle of your compass is pointed in the right direction. And then at the end, I say, your next right step is to do some of this. Your next right step is to take some action. But here's the other thing that isn't really mentioned here that is incredibly important. And it is that you need to be clear about what your values are to feel like you're fulfilling a purpose. And so clear SEO headers that lay out and break up wall of text and give people a sense of what they can do or the steps they should take or the information they need to make transformation in their life. And then the next right step is an offering of something that provides the next right step, right? So if I created a little bit of an arc in an informational piece, like you wanted this information, let's get underneath why it matters. And there's more here, by the way, right? You just give them the tip of the iceberg. The invitation to see the rest of it is here's the opt in, right? So for me, it's a values list of 111 core values that folks can choose from. That will become a free little values mini course soon. But again, I needed to get it out, and the values list is a great starting point and will be part of the mini course. But when it comes to naming your values, you need to opt in for that. I make it very clear, like if you want me to email you the values list, because it's very hard to find people again on the internet, make sure that you sign up. I will send that your way, and I'll give you updates when I have new articles that I think can help you. And so making it compelling to them by explaining why what you offer serves their next step allows for that transaction of an email address. And making sure that as you categorize, kind of zooming back out and going to the overarching things that you need to be elevated in Google search, the hierarchy on your site matters. And so the categories that you have on your website, if you have an opt-in for a category, then that can be really helpful. So my opt-in, if people are coming for organic marketing, often it's SEO, SEO copy, SEO principles. That lands in an SEO, a free SEO audit. That's the mini course that I mentioned at the beginning. If someone comes for purpose, then I can dish up a different opt-in to meet a person who is struggling with naming their purpose, living their purpose, feeling fulfilled. If we're dealing with that side, it's a different opt-in because that next right step is inherently different. They're looking for something else. And so it's really important to think about, like, what are the categories I speak to? Again, if you can do the keyword research around that and have that reflected in your URL structure and everything, there's a whole lot that we can do to help you be found in Google more readily and more easily. But the beauty of it is that when you understand the bots, it actually helps you meet the humans in a more informed manner, not just in terms of language mirroring, but also in terms of the opt-ins that you offer. The more organized your site is, the more it reduces friction. It feels calm when somebody shows up on your site. And if that is the case, then again, as I mentioned, the Denise Duffield Thomas thing, a confused mind doesn't buy. If I land on your site and I can breathe and go, I know what you do. Like if I know within an instant, like, hey, I can tell what they do, that alleviates some of that friction. It reduces some of it and allows you to flow through a little more easily. It makes a yes easier on the part of the person on the other side of the screen. So SEO is great. User experience is vital. But when you marry the two, that is where the real magic happens. Not only can you funnel more traffic to your site, but you can also convert them to a happy client. And that is really the ultimate goal of what I teach entrepreneurs in my organic marketing ecosystem course. It is all about holding both threads equally. It's all about figuring out, okay, this is what the data says, this is what I know as a practitioner in this space. And then this is how I then, with all of that information, choose to meet my target audience. The language I use endears me to somebody if they are my right fit, or repels the wrong fit immediately without me having to have a discovery call. They know, looking at my site, whether they like me or not, whether they want to work with me or not, whether they trust me or not, enough to take the next right step or to say back to Google, I need a different search result. And so that kind of clarity is the most important thing, right? That's the kind of clarity that we really want. And we want to resonate with folks on that visceral level. And I think SEO is a fantastic tool to allow you to do it. I mentioned the organic freedom tipping point. That is the point at which Google is sending you so much traffic that you have calculated You will always be able to make your monthly revenue based on traffic alone, which gives you the opportunity to say yes to marketing that you want to do, right? I love doing workshops like this. I'm so excited to get more folks on to share their knowledge with you and to have conversations like this that are very educational in their focus. But it means that that yes is not under duress. It means that it reduces anxiety. It means that if you don't want to do that one month, or you don't want to host your podcast in a every week format, you want to do it seasonally, it's not feast or famine for you necessarily. If Google's got your back, then you have more control, you have more say. And I think a lot of us who are digital entrepreneurs, this is what we want, right? Thank you, Jeff. I see you here. Thank you. This is what we want. We want that lifestyle freedom, right? We want the ability to choose. And it's often what's lost when we choose these kinds of to dos that we put on our list, the marketing strategies that actually beg of us that as we get bigger, more successful, that we do more. I'm looking at you, social, right? You start feeding that content beast, you start gaining traffic, you start gaining traction. There is a higher cost if you choose to not play the algorithm game. There's a higher cost for you, and it can impact your bottom line. Whereas Google, every algorithm change in Google that I have seen always is in an effort to elevate better content. Every algorithm change will feature more highly the content that ranks high in the expertise, authority, and trustworthiness, content that is well organized, content that delivers quality information. And so if I have to choose where to spend that time, I always put it into the SEO bucket first. It doesn't mean I don't do social. It doesn't mean I don't love social. It just means as a business strategy, I know that this is the thing that is going to feed me for far longer. I mentioned at the top, I got 16,000 hits of organic traffic a month, new users per month, inbound leads to higher scores when I was there. That lasted for 2 years, even after I stopped creating new content because I had a baby. Like, that's impactful. It fed me. And yes, I still had to do other things like email my list and support them and make sure that they were seeing content that I had posted in the past. But it was absolutely amazing to me that what I had built in the past could live, it had a shelf life that was longer than a day of doom scrolling. So, if that's something that you would like a slice of, I highly recommend it. In 2016 is, I think, when the light bulb went on for me. My husband and I took a trip to Europe. My friend was performing at the Globe. Wasn't going to miss that. I hadn't taken a day off since I started the company in January of 2014. So this was, I think, March or April of 2016. So 2 years of checking my email every day and, just working so hard to try to reach people, to share my message. I was so passionate about it. I went on vacation. I came back and I told my husband, I was like, I'm going to check my email like 4 times just to make sure things aren't burning down. I did. I put a boundary around it. I came home and I had made my mortgage in 2 weeks. And I had never done that before. And the only reason it worked was because Uncle Goog had my back while I was off, hanging out in the fens and spinnies of the UK. It was unreal. And that's the kind of freedom we want. And so I know that this is something that is daunting. It feels very technical. It feels like it takes a long time to happen. But I will tell you that post that I mentioned that's climbing, that I have like now, gosh, 5 figures of traffic probably eventually that's going to come from it. I posted that in April, and it is on the second page of Google now. Last week when I spoke about it, it was on the third page of Google. So there's a curve that happens, right? And if you have multiple posts that are tracking that curve, suddenly your website traffic, you can see it amplifies it. and it's going to elevate your business and provide ease, help you find the right people who want to say yes to your products. So if that is something that you want to pour into, you want to pour your energy into something that does not require daily maintenance, that allows you to post once a week, once a month, once every 2 weeks, whatever cadence works for you, in a very clear trajectory, and is, I can't say guaranteed, but more highly likely to get you to the outcome you want because it is research backed. That is what I help people do. If you want to learn how to do that, I support that educational piece at organicmarketingecosystem.com. We have a new course that's going live on Tuesday, October 24th of 2013, if you're watching this now. But I have an evergreen version that will be going live in the new year. So go over whether you want to join now live and do the live lead or gain access for 1 year. Each course comes with 1 year of access starting in early 2024. I would love to support your journey. Also, if you just have questions or you want me to look over your copy, I have a mastermind. It's a drop-in mastermind. It's $25 for the first session. You can learn more at laurengadgioli.com/mastermind. $25 for the first session. You sign up for one, you can come and I will go over anything in your online business that you need support with, whether you want to talk more about SEO, whether you want me to look at a post that you've written and have some copy editing feedback. That's what that is for. It's for whatever you need. And you can sign up for a package after that or just drop in as needed when you feel like I'm in my echo chamber. I just need somebody to give me some feedback. That is what the mastermind is for. I didn't want long-term commitments. We meet on Wednesday nights and Saturday mornings, and it's first come, first serve, capped at 6 entrepreneurs each time. So there are a lot of different ways that I help folks. If you want someone to just come alongside and be like, I will take your website and give you all the keyword research and tell you the post to create and or connect you with my SEO copywriter. Here's the content that's going to help you rank. We do that too. So I love this stuff. I am so excited about it. And I really hope that if it's piqued your interest, you'll come over and learn more. And just so you know, we have another workshop, another entrepreneurial workshop in the works for early November. So I'm going to try and do this at least once a month. But definitely, I have a tendency to get overexcited and just want to share all the amazing people I know. Jeff, who is here, will likely be a guest at some point if he says yes, to share more about AI because he is an AI expert. So the next one is going to be about email giveaways. So if you've ever wanted to run a contest on your site and build your list while also doing something to give back to your community, I have Paul Gowder who's going to be coming on. Yeah, Jeff's in. Emails inbound. But we are doing that in early November. So again, come to laurengadgioli.com/workshop. Sign up there to get those notifications. I would absolutely love to also hear what it is you might want to hear about. So as I mentioned, legal, bookkeeping, accounting, mindset hacks, actual strategies, practical, tactical, how like we did here, where folks come on either guests or I do a solo or I bring on 3 or 4 folks so that we can facilitate a conversation that allows us all to just keep moving forward in our businesses, keep taking action. I'm finding that all the learning in the world can't save you from inaction, right? It's better to commit to imperfect action. And that's something I have really learned this year. And it's tough for the perfectionists out there, but it's the kind of thing that if you do it, you will reap the rewards. I've got traffic climbing on the site right now, a site I've only been working on really for less than a year, for 10 months, basically. And I've done it before. That's just why I stuck with it, why I stayed the course. When you have a solid strategy that you know works, it's easier to say yes to the action that makes it actually come to fruition. If you keep pivoting, you keep changing, that's where you just waste yourself, you waste all your energy. It just all pours out. And so moving in a clear path with intention is the way to go. I am a huge advocate of SEO being that path. And if you'd like me to support you, I would love the opportunity to help you figure out your way to find the opportunities that surround your niche and help you really swing for the fences. And I think you'd be surprised by what you can accomplish, even as a solopreneur, a solo practitioner. So um, I hope to see you either in the course or in the mastermind. And I'm really grateful to you for sticking with me today and coming to the very first workshop. Jeff, thank you so much for being here. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Bye.